All right, buying Gold Coast deep dive series. Today's going to be a juicy one. I love unpacking certain pockets of the Gold Coast. So I appreciate all the feedback, requesting different areas, locations. It's been absolutely amazing, all the feedback. If you want to get fast tuned with the Gold Coast market, go back and listen to some of the past steps. We've touched on things like tips on bridesmaid suburbs, tips on duplex versus units, tips if you ever needing help accelerating the pace of buying and buyers, like everything. So our deep dive series helps you, the buyer, in the Gold Coast community. Today's no different. We've got Olivia McRae, our Northern Gold Coast specialist at the Sarama Group. She lives and breathes the Northern Gold Coast. And we're actually going to unpack the Northern Gold Coast and the 3 key property types you need to know. So the 3 key property types you need to know. What we'll do, we'll go one by one through them. I'll reveal them at the start, and then we'll actually unpack it and get Olivia's thoughts in there. But Olivia, firstly, how's the trek down from the Northern Gold Coast?
I know, you made me come down.
No.
As you know, Matt, I'm obsessed with the Northern Gold Coast. Absolutely live and breathe it and don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought maybe today just give a bit more deeper knowledge on the 3 different property types that are most common for our area.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen a real transition from certain types of property to these 3, probably in the last, I reckon, 24 months for sure. So what we're going to go through, we're going to unpack the waterfronts, the gated estates, and the knockdown rebuild sites. All 3 of these have been pumping as of late. And the first one we'll unpack, Olivia, is the waterfront market. It's probably a big reason why the Northern Gold Coast has had so much, I guess, gentrification and migration to that area is the waterfront living. But what are some key things off the get-go that the everyday buyer, maybe not from the Northern Gold Coast, needs to understand around waterfront property up there?
Yeah, the waterfront properties, it's a lifestyle purchase.
Definitely,
and
yeah.
one of the biggest reasons why you're purchasing on the Northern Gold Coast. So as locals, we know the good areas. Every waterfront is very different. So I think if you're not from here originally and you're looking at them, you really need to be careful and look into your regulations around the particular waterfronts and what you can and can't do, because it very much differs. So if you're just putting in realestate.com, waterfront property, you're going to see a vast range of price points and go, why is that one so different to a pocket over in Runaway Bay?
I was going to say, just if we go a bit deeper on that, that's probably the most common one I see a lot of buyers get wrong, is they're not understanding the difference in value between, they both look like they're on water, but maybe what are some key things? Obviously the bridge free versus not, and that's a huge one, but what are some big ones that you feel buyers need to really uncover when they're looking at waterfronts?
Yeah, definitely your access points.
Yeah.
So you want to, if you can, bridge-free access, 100%.
Just quickly, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Your restriction on heights of what type of height of your boat you can have. And in Runaway Bay, there's one little section, that one road difference, because the bridge is there, you can't get your sailing boats under them.
True.
So they're the little things that you're not thinking about when you're just on the computer at home looking at a waterfront. You've got to go a bit more micro, look into the access points out to the direct broadwater and to the ocean. So your man-made canals around Hope Island, Sanctuary Cove, they all offer very different aspects to when you go over to Hollywell and Runaway Bay.
Gotcha.
One of the things I would say is open homes are always going to be on high tide because the water looks nicer. But you really need to go and look at it when it's low tide as well. You need to find out, can you actually fit the boat that you want? Can you build a pontoon as well? There's a lot of restrictions there. Just because it's on a canal, it does not mean that you can put in a finger pontoon or one that will fit your jet ski, boat. So
That's a huge, that is a massive tip right there. Like that knowledge there, I guess, on the high tide versus low, that's a huge one.
It's so simple.
Yeah, that's a huge one. People often forget that. And I think a huge one too is obviously a lot of people are moving with a boat or getting a boat in mind, but just because some can get a pond. Doesn't mean all waterfronts can actually get like pontoons. You're exactly right there. What's some due diligence to help the buyer there? Like, is there anything or anyone they could talk to, or obviously outside buyers agents, but like just to help people understand that a little bit more? You feel?
Yeah, definitely. You want to look into your zoning there as well,
Yep.
and any setbacks. So even a quarter council or a town planner as well, just to find out a little bit more. You'll be surprised that when you're looking at a waterfront, you can actually be restricted on what renovations you can do as well down the track. So you might be looking at this property with an idea to put a deck on down the back or
Yep.
add that pool in. There's a lot of properties that have those council restrictions at the back. Another
Interesting.
big thing you'll find is flood zones.
Yeah, huge one. Yeah.
Your waterfront properties come with, of course, a high flood risk.
Yep.
We just went through the crazy storms there, and you're going to look into it. Straight away, it's going to come up as a flood zone.
Yep.
You're on water.
Yeah.
But detail that. Find out, is it affecting the house? Is it far enough back as well?
I think that's a massive one. Is obviously we had Cyclone Alfie, come forward, and a lot of the waterfronts did rise. Not many actually went into the home, and that's collectively over the Gold Coast. On a flood mapping tool, people don't understand with the Gold Coast. The whole thing's blue.
Yeah.
We've got one of, I think, outside of Florida in the US, we're one of the biggest cities in the world for the amount of canals we have in terms of kilometers. So we're obviously in a water-based kind of section of the world. So flood zones are there. I think what Olivia is mentioning there is so key, the difference between flood zone and flood prone. And I think a huge one is obviously due diligence, asking the agent as best you can, but maybe just getting a sense of the community too and asking people around where the flooding got to. But I think, like with anything in life, if you're going to live on a waterfront, just know you are going to be paying a slightly higher premium, I'd assume, with being on water, right?
Definitely. And that even comes down to your insurance. So your insurance on waterfronts, of course, it's a higher risk property, but it's a lifestyle, and that's why you're buying it.
Yeah, exactly. And just lastly, Olivia, on the water, types of water, sometimes people don't understand too. Like, it's a big one down on the southern end of the coast. Like some canal, it's quite brown versus some that are nice crystal blue, depending on the frontage and the width and stuff like that. Is there any key points or areas or pockets that you feel the water might be different in the northern Gold Coast?
Yeah, definitely. When you're looking straight away, you can look at Helens Vale and you can look at Saltwater Creek, and that waterfront there, totally different product to when you're at even Hollywell or Runaway Bay, Hope
interesting.
Island, Sanctuary Cove. So they're not all made the same, and you can't get your boats down some
Yeah,
of those.
true.
So you just have to do your due diligence a lot more than a standard house. But I think opening up the waterfront property and why, it unlocks a whole nother section to the North Gold Coast if you're on the water.
Yeah. And I noticed too that there's a lot of like sailing clubs and boats. So it's really that boaty lifestyle, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. What about, lastly on that, the access points on, because I was surprised. I mean, you were telling me, and some of these islands and different things you can actually get to outside the Gold Coast if you do have boat access. What are some of these little places, that hidden gems that people don't know?
Yeah, you can only get there if you've got a boat. So it opens up that whole new lifestyle again. And it's South Stradbroke, one of the key ones families go to on the weekend.
Great spot.
Can't get there unless you're on a boat or jet ski.
Yeah, true.
Tipplers as well.
Yes, I've heard of that one, hidden gem.
Hidden gem. Everyone loves to go to Tipplers. And Wavebreak Island.
Yes.
So this is where you're spending your weekends.
Yeah.
And unless you've got a jet ski or a boat and you're in these northern pockets,
pretty much can't get.
You can't get there.
Can't get there. Yeah.
So you're either a beach person down at Burleigh on the weekend, or you're out at Tipplers and Stradbroke.
So cool. Or find a friend.
Yeah, find a friend.
Yeah, friend. I love that. Waterfronts. It's such a key part of the northern Gold Coast. The next one we're going to uncover, gated estates. Bit different to the central and southern. There's way more gated estates I notice on the northern end. What are some key things to consider there, Olivia, when it comes to looking at property with a gated estate?
You're right. The northern end, nearly every second property is in a gated estate. And when we speak to interstate buyers, the feedback straight away is, I don't want to pay body corporate. Why are they all in a body corporate? And it's very rare to have so much of our area all gated. But it's it is that secure lifestyle and families that are attracted to these areas.
True.
The biggest thing you're looking for in these is, again, any restrictions. So there are drawbacks living in a body corporate area, which is on the Northern Gold Coast, your gated estates, and that comes down to what you can even build in there. So
True.
the restrictions, of course, on colours. I know when I built, we had to get approval for a letterbox. So
Wow.
it is very, very detailed on what you can and can't do, but that is for a good reason too. It keeps it a very high-end luxury place.
True.
And the biggest reason why you're in there is for that lifestyle, community, security. Like you've got 24-hour security patrol. Every kid knows each other. Every neighbour knows each other. It's just like a Neighbours TV show. It really is in any of these estates.
I love what you said there. What was it? Lifestyle, community, and what was the other?
Security. 24-hour security in a lot of them.
Lifestyle, security, community. I really like that.
Each body corporate as well is very different. So again, you want to find out what's actually involved in them. And you'll be surprised, a lot of people don't realise is you can get dry blocks in these gated estates that actually have marina berths as well.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
if you don't want to be living on the water or you can't get into that waterfront property, a lot of the families are buying the dry blocks that still then have this marina berth for their jet ski or small boat to enjoy it.
That's is that like Robin, like one of our clients,
yeah.
is it? Yeah, that's a really good point actually. If you want to unpack that, Olivia, like what people don't realise. Yeah, I'm just thinking back now. We had some clients from interstate. One of the lifestyle, one of the security. They'll use it for parts of the year and go back to Sydney and Melbourne. And like we've had a few clients like that. What people don't understand is you can secure something with a marina berth. You actually don't live on the water, so you're not paying waterfront price tag, but you still have access to the water and put the toys on the water. Is that correct on what a marina berth is?
Definitely. And Rob's property in particular, one side of the street's waterfront, the other side's a dry block. There is nearly $1.5 million to 2 mil difference.
Wow.
Just across the street. So it's a great entry level to start with. And
Good point.
these homes are big 700 square metre blocks.
Yeah.
They have been built well. They are modern, renovated. You've got your pool and your yard. So it's everything you could look for as a family or for something down the track where you're going to retire. So there's two very different markets there of why you're buying in these estates.
It's a really good point. So it's nearly to add value to the Gold Coast buyer or listener right now is maybe the Northern Gold Coast attracts you, maybe the waterfront lifestyle is attracting you. And what I heard there, Olivia, is you could nearly supplement. If you're not too fussed on actually living on the water 24/7, you can nearly supplement up to 500, 800K, nearly $1 million saving to be on a non-waterfront but still have a marina berth. So that's a huge tip, I think, for anyone looking on the Gold Coast is, hey, be open to, potentially something with the marina berth. You're achieving kind of both, right? That's a really, really good point. Any other things on gated estates to finish on, Olivia, or things to be mindful of, you feel?
Yeah, I think most commonly the gated estates are associated with Sanctuary Cove, Hope Island and Helensvale. There's actually some ones up around Coomera Waters and Riverstone Crossing as well.
Yeah, true.
So they're not waterfronts, Riverstone Crossing, but it still offers that secure lifestyle, parks, cafes, gyms. So they're all very popular, I would say, for our northern pockets.
Yeah.
That's what we're really looking at when the clients are young families and moving interstate.
Tell you one thing I've noticed with the Northern Gold Coast, which I love, being an avid golfer myself, is everyone seems to get around in the buggies and these it's like you're on Hamilton Island.
It is, and you know me, every story on my Instagram's
Yeah,
on the buggy.
on the buggy.
But we do. You're known for the golf lifestyle there as well. We've got some award-winning golf.
Yeah, some of the best courses up there.
It's the
far
golf
out.
courses.
Yeah.
And again, it's why you don't leave. It's a lifestyle, so you're choosing this area. it may not be your property that you want to invest in. And Matt, you are a crazy investor, as we all know. But you're buying there because it's where you want to live.
Yes.
And that's just a different kettle of fish.
Yep. And I guess that's why it's been holding its value so strong, especially the past 2 years, is because when we put our investor hat on, owner-occupied markets, they're emotional markets.
Yeah.
And people are paying for property, not just on dollars and cents, but emotional values on what's important as a family and what's important as a lifestyle, and having the toys and those sorts of things don't come at a cost, right? Like it's kind of like you put that aside sometimes. So even if you are looking at one of these properties to live in, just know the value has actually been holding really strong for that exact reason. You're not going to find heaps of tenants in these pockets. A lot of owner occupiers. Unreal.
The 4212 postcode in particular, it's been up to a 14% growth.
Yeah, wow.
This is owner occupied.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
Yeah, yeah. That should give huge confidence on that. And then the last one of my favorites, the knockdown rebuild sites. You know me, Olivia, I've just been so bullish on the Northern Gold Coast. Like, I love it. I just think there's so much gentrification. I remember about 5 years ago, I was chatting to someone and they were asking me, like, on all of the Gold Coast, they asked me which pocket, like, do you think is going to redevelop? And 5 years, I said Labrador, like Labrador and surrounds. And people never even heard of it, or people are like, you're crazy. It's like rough as in there. And we're starting to see it now, aren't we? Like the redevelopment of some of these blocks. But what could be some advice now with knockdown rebuild? Maybe there's a developer listening. Maybe there's someone who wants to build a duplex in the Northern Gold Coast because they're seeing the capitalisation on the back end. What's some key tips for those sorts of buyers right now?
Yeah, the smart investors and the smart developers are getting in now, and we can see that with our own clients. The biggest thing is it's off market.
Yeah.
It is really an off market only product. They do not come online because they are so popular and everybody holds on. So you've got very small areas, say, again, Paradise Point, Holywell, of sections that are actually medium density. So if you're not looking at those, you're very limited to your nice corner blocks as well. So your pricing points go through the roof. But if you know the area, know the streets, and can get access early, that's where you're going to make your money on the way in.
I love it. And just to unpack for anyone who doesn't understand medium density, what do you mean by that one, Olivia?
It's on your zoning maps when you're looking at the areas. And as you know, we've got access to that as buyers agents. But your typical buyer might not. And you're wanting to find out what you can and can't do. 2 streets away can be very different products.
And why that's important for the listener too is if you are someone looking to, say, do a development or capitalise on maybe a duplex development, things like that, there's obviously everything's subject to council approval, but on the basis, anything that's medium density, you should be able to build, again, medium density products. So maybe a duplex, 2 dwellings on the one block. Anything single dwelling density, it's a lot harder to achieve a duplex or something along those lines in that block. And one thing with the Northern Gold Coast, as Olivia mentioned, the medium density streets is far in between, isn't it? There actually isn't a huge amount.
There isn't. So we start to come down Bayview Street a bit further and you're getting into your big Rewarder and Labradors. They're the pockets now that if you're looking, they don't have that historical data on the back end when you're looking at the future sale price. So you do have to be very creative to make that stack. However, the smart buyers are getting in at the right price points because, as we know, we've seen this consistent growth there. And we've seen it with one of our clients that we were able to purchase for 15 months ago.
Give us an update on that one because I remember us chatting on that one. I absolutely love the block. It was a dual street frontage, wasn't it? A corner block. That secured in the 9s from memory, was it?
Yeah, it was an 860 purchase
860s.
price.
And isn't it wild to think that?
Crazy. To think that we sat here and spoke about that you could purchase under the 900K. Fast forward 14 months.
Yeah.
That property is now a 1.3.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's, again, why sometimes the Northern Gold Coast, why I'm so bullish on it, because it sometimes doesn't get all the limelight on when people think of the Gold Coast. They're all thinking Southern End. Southern End's great, don't get me wrong, but when you're thinking of capital return, cash on cash return honestly, I'm seeing so much potential in that Northern Gold Coast pocket for the exact reason Olivia said there. You can get, I guess your entry prices are a bit easier, like lower, I guess. Incorporate some fast growth in terms of the demographic changing, some new end builds and higher sale prices, that's the margin. It's in that middle between bit of the 6, 12, 18 month of the build. You're going to get most of your capital results there, isn't it? And we're seeing some of the new end builds now, duplexes, looking in low twos, things like that per villa, like per side.
Yeah.
So it's we're looking at $4 to $5 million sites now on the Northern Gold Coast. So
very common.
Very exciting. What's sort of baseline, lastly, to give add value to the listener, your knockdown rebuild, where are they starting from at the moment, Olivia, for your basic blocks, you think?
Yeah, if you're wanting to get into your Holywell pocket now, it's a 1.2 minimum to start. There, you come further down, Bigger Waters has some low ones available, but anything under 1 mil anywhere on the Gold Coast now is nearly
gone, isn't it?
Nearly gone. There are very few in between that do come up. You just have to be patient. So it's a very patient game. So if it's something you are looking at doing, I definitely recommend you start the search in the background now.
Yeah, 100%. And I was saying it the other week too, Olivia, and I'm sure you'd agree, like the ability to get in the market before getting priced out is probably the biggest advantage point for anyone looking to do some sort of knockdown rebuild right now.
Yeah.
Like every month that's going on, if you haven't found your site, you're nearly adding 10 to 15 to 20K month on month of extra payment that you're going to have to pay when it does come because, the supply demand, there's not much available. Heaps of people want them. It's as simple,
And they hold
as
them.
that. Yeah, and they hold them too. So that's insane. And lastly, on that point too, Olivia, with knockdown rebuilds, what if we go a little bit more micro? Where are you seeing most of the high-end buyers kind of perch themselves? Is it a section of Paradise Point or Holywell or Labrador? Where are you seeing like the wealth kind of pockets at the moment?
Yeah, Paradise Point. Most definitely. It's still up there. Everyone gave it a bit of a rap after the flooding and that, but we were fine. We held strong.
Yeah.
So good old Paradise Point. We did, and the wealth is still there. It's never going to come down that little area, and then followed by your bridesmaids of Runaway Bay and Holywell. They're the three straight away that developers want to be in because the end product is attracting the high dollars.
Yeah, 100%. I just loved our conversation, Olivia, just chatting on, I guess, unpacking the waterfronts, the gated estates, the knockdown rebuild sites. To finish on, Olivia, out of those, I guess, opportunities, if you're a buyer right now in the marketplace, you're on realestate.com, you've got the search bars, Northern Gold Coast, things like that, what's one or two key tips you can give from a buyer perspective right now that they should be doing to achieve the goal that they want in 2025, you feel?
Really think about what you actually want out of this property.
Yeah, I love it.
It has to come down to your family and your needs, because once you're up here in this little pocket, you don't leave, and you will slowly see families go from the dry block across to the waterfront and back and forth between the different suburbs. But it's definitely down to your individual needs. Are you okay having the covenants of a gated estate? If not, maybe the duplex side in Runaway Bay, and that is better for you. Or do you want that access on a buggy? Then you're going to be looking in the Hope Island estates and Sanctuary Cove. Sanctuary Cove's another world on its own. So 3 very different types of properties attract 3 very different types of clients, all within 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah. So it nearly sounds like get immersed in all of them and trying to get a feel for what's out there.
Little tip I did when researching the areas coming from Sydney was jump on the Facebook pages
of
these communities.
It's a great tip.
You get to find out all the little gossip and find out the inside drama. But do it. Jump
That's
on.
actually a good tip.
Find out what's happening in the Cover estate, or find out what's happening in the golf course there. What are they complaining about?
Yeah, what are they? Yeah. No, that's actually a really good tip. I love that.
Get your stalk on.
Get your stalk. Get immersed in there. Visit the local shops, the grocery stores, get a feel because they are so different.
So
eh?
different. And the biggest thing when we have clients fly up and look at properties with us, just take them through a drive. And
Yeah.
as soon as you're driving through,
True.
you've got your energy, you understand, and they're like, wow, I never would have thought to come here.
Yep.
So I think that's a key
Love that.
thing.
Yep.
Fly up, drive around, have a professional
Yep.
show you the little ins and outs and the particular pockets.
Be open to.
Yeah.
Unreal. And what I always finish on whenever we catch up, Olivia, you've always got some juicy eateries and new cafes on the northern coast. What at the moment? Give us a little inside tip.
The
Where at
new
moment?
Hope Island Tavern.
The Hope Island Tavern.
It is all fancy
Is
now.
it? They've redone it.
Yeah,
Wow.
big reno there. So if you're around, you'll probably see me there.
Yeah. Live music they
live
got
music.
sometimes, eh? Yeah.
Live music there. So
Okay.
all the locals are enjoying the new renovation there.
I love that. So there you have it. If you're sussing around, make a weekend of it. Get amongst the Hope Island Tavern and some of the other great places on the northern Gold Coast. Well, Olivia, as always, really appreciate not only your insight but your expert tips, all things northern Gold Coast. I'm sure a lot of that is going to add some value. So there you have it. The northern Gold Coast unpacked the 3 key property types you need to know. Olivia unpacked the waterfronts, the gated estates, knockdown rebuild sites. I absolutely love it. Thanks, Olivia, and have a great day and safe travels back to the northern GC.
Thanks, Matt.